Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the Kumo Theater. We hope you can join us. You're welcome to grab a seat, bring your coffee, take a load off. We're about to do some really fun stuff. Live demos. That's where the rubber meets the road, live demos, especially here at AWS, where we're dealing with everyone on the Wi-Fi at the same time, right?
We'll see what happens. See, the demo gods are in our favor today.
That's right. All right, so come in and join us, and please welcome to the stage from AWS, David Green.
Hey everybody, my name is David Green. I'm a enterprise solutions architect here at AWS, and I'm on the storage specialist team. So we work with customers on different storage use cases, and one of my favorite launches with EBS this year has been Elastic Volumes. So I kind of want to go into some detail. But first, before we dive in, just a quick high-level overview of where EBS fits in their storage ecosystem. So in our portfolio, we have block, file, and object. So block, we have EBS, an instance store that runs on the actual instance, and multiple ways of moving data in and out of the cloud. So we're going to focus on block, and we have the two offerings here. So EBS and instance store. Instance store is often asked, like, what's the difference and why should we use one over the other? So quick touch on instance store, it's local to the instance. It's the physical devices that are inside the actual hardware running your instance. So we have different flavors of the instance store. There's NVMe-based SSDs. There's SSDs and HDD-backed volumes, or HDD disks. By default, data is not replicated. You can attach EBS volumes to these instances and still do backups to EBS, but we don't have snapshot support on the local instances. And you might see, where do you choose one over the other? So here's like a hierarchy of, if you need over 80,000 IOPS, and sub-millisecond latency, you can look at instance store inside the i3 instances. We have NVMe disks that offer 3.3 million IOPS on these instances. But realistically, if you're looking at EBS, you can choose cost or performance for the SSD-backed volumes, and the GP2 is really the workhorse of our SSD-backed EBS volumes. And we see the GP2 volume type solving for nearly all workloads out there. And realistically, I'd start with this volume type. We also have the SC1 and ST1. These are great for sequential throughput. So if you're doing things like Cassandra commit logs or archive or media transcoding and streaming, this is a really great target for that. So a quick look at cost structure of these volume types. With IO1, you choose how many IOPS you have, and they change the size differently. With GP2, it's really, as you add capacity to the volume, your throughput increases. And snapshot for all these volume types is 5 cents per gig. And just real quick on snapshots, if you encrypt the volume, there's no difference on the snapshot cost. It's just super easy to encrypt and use this. So enter Elastic Volumes. This is a new feature as of this year, and this is pretty awesome. You can increase the volume size. You can change the volume type, and you can increase or decrease the provision IOPS. And one of my favorite things, having a little kid at home, is I don't have to schedule downtime anymore. I can be home with my family, be home with my daughter, and not have to worry about, I have to go work tonight and take the application down and change disk and all this. That does not happen anymore. You can do this live in production. So what this allows you to do, let's say you're increasing the IOPS, or you can decrease the IOPS. You can increase the volume size of all these volume types. And what else you can do is you can actually change the volume type and the size at the same time. So you can go, let's say you're doing a high throughput data ingest on the IO1 volume, like a time series data capture, and then once you get all that data on the disk, you don't need to pay that cost of having a lot of IOPS anymore. So you can basically change that volume type to a less expensive volume type that is more economical. So some considerations. The volume modification must be valid for the target type. So what that means is, in the ST1 case for the HDD-backed volumes, the minimum volume size is 500 gigs. So if you wanted to go from a 400 gig GP2 to a 400 gig ST volume, that's not going to work. So all you do is just change the target volume to be 500 gigs, and you're good. And once you change that, it's good to go. Another one for I/O. there's a ratio of capacity to IOPS. It's a 50 to 1. So if you match the just match the base minimum, you're good to go. And we tell you this in the console too. So some automation ideas around elastic volumes. You can have CloudWatch log a metric that says something like, watch for a volume that's running close to IOPS limit. And if it's running close to IOPS limit, you can kick off a workflow that can either increase the IOPS of the volume so your application doesn't suffer, or kick off a workflow that says, please, have somebody click approve so you can approve the change and then provision it out. You can also publish a free space metric to CloudWatch and also have a similar process. This I've seen many cases where customers have filled volumes either with logs or just data, and then their application doesn't work well. So this is really, really easy to work around that, and it just makes life a lot easier. With cost reduction, you can also use the same type of metric to see how many IOPS you're actually using, and if you're not using the IOPS, just simply decrease it and pay less. So a quick demo to show how easy this is. Hang on one sec. Cool. So I just provisioned this instance just now. There's nothing on it. It's just a brand new instance. So I have 2 disks. I have a boot disk here, which is here. Then I have a 24 gig data disk. And inside the console, I have my boot and data disk here. And something else that I just want to quickly call out is please tag everything. So we have, you can have a tag value show here. You can also enable tagging for billing reports, so you can show how much you're actually spending based on the tag. So for example, you can have a application name in a tag, or a business unit tag, or cost center. So now I want to increase this volume to GP2. I just want to say modify volume. Oops, sorry, I'm zoomed in the console, so it's kind of weird. Let's say I want to make this from a 24 gig volume to like a 500 gig volume. Another thing that I use to cheat here also is it shows the actual IOPS for the baseline IOPS and the burst IOPS. It's a credit-based volume or token-based volume for the GP2, and this lets you kind of see how much throughput or how many what the actual performance of the volume is just in the console by changing these numbers around. So I do 500. I click modify. And if Wi-Fi and my browser is happy with me today, come on. Let's refresh this. There we go. And something that's interesting with this, as you change, even on GPT, when you change the size of the volume, the performance will increase. And if your application, for some reason, if you cannot change the actual size of the volume easily without unmounting for some reason, you still get that performance out of the volume. So if you have a 24 gig attached and you change the size, you get more throughput, but you still keep the same 24 gig attached volume if you wanted to. So it's going to show inside the console the state of optimizing. Another interesting thing is if you're changing the throughput, let's say you have the baseline where you started and you change the volume type or you added IOPS. As the volume changes from the low end to the faster end, your application never dips below the base volume throughput that you had before. So as you increase the size, your application's never going to be degraded. That's why you can do this live in production. So I'm going to hop back over. I had 24 gig before for this volume. So now it just sees it as 500 gig. And that you can use that immediately. It's very fast to do. It's actually probably finished before I even switch back over. And the same is true for changing types. So if you wanted to change, let's say, my boot volume from a GP2 into the IO1, the same is true. I just specify what I want for my IOPS. Let's say just 200. I don't know why my browser is not liking. There we go. And that's it. It's super easy. So as this change is happening in the back end, you can still keep using the application. You can still keep using the server. It's a brand new instance, so it has no updates. But yeah, I mean, I'm using this instance now. There's no issue using this. And yeah, so please take advantage of the automation tools that we have. And any questions? I'm happy to take questions.
And I'll bring you the microphone so he can hear you if you have a question. Anybody? We're good? We're good.
Oh, thanks, everybody.